I really appreciate this so much. I think I do have to ask you. I'm sorry to be U.S. centric for a second, but there's been a lot of talk right now in the U.S., particularly here in the state of Texas, from the Republican Party about willingness to actually send troops into Mexico. And I think one thing that's important to know for people who haven't been following what's going on with Texas at the border, one of the arguments that Greg Abbott is making for why he can do border policy, right, which, by the way, is not a power of a governor of any U.S. state, is because he is claiming that Mexico is invading Texas and Texas has the right to defend its borders, right? Which is absolutely asinine argument. And the legal challenge that we're getting from the Biden administration, by the way, on what's going on the border, they're not about, a governor should not be able to do border policy. They're that the Abbott administration did not consult the Army Corps of Engineers before building a structure in navigable water. Right. But I just wanted to ask, your perspective and what you're hearing. When people hear this kind of bluster, is it sort of like this is campaign talk? I'm just curious what the perspective from Mexico might be on some of these kind of inflammatory things we're seeing here.
So, as president, would you support sending U.S. Special Forces over the border into Mexico to take out fentanyl labs, to take out drug cartel operations? Would you support that kind of American military use?
Yes, and I will do it on day one.
The Mexican public, by and large, understand that it's campaign bluster. I've found the Mexican public to be much more politically sophisticated in general than the U.S. public, right? Which isn't hard. But it doesn't make it not dangerous anyway, right? This idea of we're going to send in special forces, or we're going to send in drones, or we're going to label the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, really because they want to go after China. That's what that's all about, right? The whole fentanyl issue there, right? Let's just talk about what would happen if that were to occur, right? They'd be, because cartels don't have places that say, "Hi, we're cartels here," right? They'd be bombing populated areas, as the U.S. does all over the world. They'd be bombing hospitals, schools, neighborhoods. They'd be bombing and killing and maiming thousands upon thousands of innocent people. They'd create migration flows 50 to 100 times more than anything that's ever been seen up till now, right? And they'd be setting themselves up for retaliatory attacks against U.S. populations, certainly by cartels within, cartel within the U.S. This has not been well thought out at all, right? Obviously, and besides all that, it wouldn't stop anything. It wouldn't stop anything, right? At all, right? Which is why AMLO has been so very, clear on this, right? Some people have said the more moderate position is we're going to get cooperation from the Mexican government to send U.S. troops in. Not as long as Moreno's in power. No way, no. It would be an act of war. It would be an invasion of foreign soil, and it would create a blowback effect, kind of channeling Chalmers Johnson here, a blowback effect here that people haven't even begun to imagine. And even if that never happens, even if it's all just campaign bluster, who are the most hurt by this? I think it's the Mexican-American community, who again are getting, this massive media campaign against them, saying that basically you are drugging us, you are invading us, you are making our kids die by fentanyl. That sets them up to all kinds of discrimination, hate crimes, and ICE breaking down their doors and all this, right? That
and violence. I mean, literal vigilante violence as well, too, right? That's not hypothetical. Yeah.
That, I think, is the clearest and most tangible effect of this, harming the Mexican-American population within the U.S. right now, even if they never carry out what they say. But all that does, and this is fueled by all this bad press. Thank you, appreciate this recurring space you've given me, and we joke about it because it's funny how bad the press coverage is of Mexico. And not even Fox News, which also has terrible coverage, of course, but supposedly liberal, we're talking about supposedly liberal publications come out with this garbage, right? It's funny, But it has these kinds of effects that all these people read all this stuff and they say, well, the New York Times says it, the right wing is saying it too. And it creates this idea of Mexico as a caricature. Mm-hmm. President as a caricature, a drug-ridden, violence-plagued shithole country, right? Where, anything we could do would be better than the way it is right now. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the logic. Instead of a country with, an incredible historic heritage and challenges, they've gone back centuries, which is doing some interesting things that maybe we could, if not learn from, because I think Americans are far too arrogant to learn from anybody, at least leave alone. Mm-hmm. At least leave alone. That would be enough. But they won't. And I think the most extreme, distorted aspect of that is this idea of let's bomb them. This kind of caveman mentality of, because they're an easy punching bag, or they're seen to be an easy punching bag. Mm-hmm. Every presidential cycle.
Well, Kurt, I can't thank you enough for all of your coverage and reporting on this. Stateside, it does make a difference. And for people who aren't already following Kurt, there's links below to where to follow him on Twitter, to his articles, and always appreciate being able to do this with you, friend, and hope to do it again soon.
Well, I appreciate it. You guys, amongst all of the podcasters and the YouTubes and all that, the whole ecosystem of left discourse in the U.S., you guys are the only ones that I know of that give this consistent coverage of Mexico. You guys are the only ones. And so thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.